My name is Tessa. Most of my childhood was spent with doors slamming shut and screams crashing against the walls. My mother stayed silent. My father shouted. And I would retreat into the corner of my room, trying to become invisible. Because I learned very early that anyone who drew attention in that house paid a price. One night, police lights flooded through the window. Neighbors were whispering in the hallway. Someone was crying. Someone said, "Enough already." By morning, I found myself in a child care center in Detroit. It was an orphanage. At first, I couldn't breathe. Strange beds, strange voices, strange rules. Then days passed, and I realized something. That place was safer than what I had called home. At least there, no one was beating anyone. That's where I became very close to someone named Ivy. Ivy was about my age. Sharp-eyed, quiet, but somehow she never made you feel alone when she was near. After the first week, we started standing in the same lines, sitting at the same tables. It felt like we had known each other for years. Sometimes families came to the center. Most of them looked only at babies. No one approached kids our age. Because of that, Ivy and I had a silent agreement. We would stay here, and if we ever left, we would leave together. Then one day, two people arrived. A well-dressed, confident couple who looked around as if they had already been chosen. They didn't really talk to the children or ask names. They measured, evaluated. Their eyes worked fast. Their smiles were in place, but they weren't warm. Half an hour after they left, a staff member called me in. "Tessa, I need to talk to you." Her voice sounded like she was bringing good news. "There's a family who wants to adopt you. They're very well. If you want, you can meet them today." My insides went cold. The first thing I thought about was Ivy. I found her in the hallway. She must have read it on my face. She came to me without asking anything. "What happened?" she said. "I can't leave you," I said. The sadness on Ivy's face was obvious. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She just touched my shoulder. "If you go, at least one of us gets out. One day you'll come back, and we'll be together again." She didn't believe it herself, but I knew she said it to keep me standing. And in that moment, unwillingly, I nodded. That same evening, I met them. Their names were Grant and Elaine. Elaine spoke kindly, but every word was controlled. Grant barely spoke at all. He decided with his eyes. Elaine called me sweetheart, brushed my hair, said, "You have a family now." None of it comforted me. It made me feel even more uneasy. A week later, I packed my things. Saying goodbye to Ivy felt like leaving someone behind while they were still alive. She hugged me and whispered in my ear, "No matter what happens, don't forget us." That sentence wrapped around me tightly, one last time. I got into Grant's car. The city faded behind us. Then we entered another part of the city, but a very different one. Clean streets, tall fences, cameras, silence. We stopped in front of the house. A two-story, well-kept, almost a perfect home. When I stepped inside, everything was orderly. The carpets, the paintings on the walls, even the smell in the air felt planned. Elaine walked me up to my room. "This is your room," she said. "We'll talk about downstairs hours later." Hours? I asked without thinking. Elaine smiled, but her eyes didn't. "Yes, there are rules in this house." That night, I heard my door being locked from the outside. The sound of the key was unmistakable. I got up and tried the door. It wouldn't open. My heart started racing. I told myself not to exaggerate. New families can be like this. For safety. You'll get used to it. Then I heard a sound from the other side of the wall. Very faint, like something caught in someone's throat. Then another, as if inside the house. There was someone else besides me. Maybe more than one. I held my breath and pressed my ear to the wall, and I had already started to miss the place I came from. The first week passed with constant pressure and endless explanations of rules. That oppressive attitude overwhelmed me deeply. My door was always locked, and if I needed anything, I had to call out through it. Several times I asked to make a phone call to hear my friends' voices. Every time they brushed me off by saying that once I got used to the rules of the house, of course they would allow it. I had started to realize that something was wrong, but there was nothing I could do. One evening, after Elaine brought me my dinner, she forgot to lock my door. I slipped out immediately. At that moment, a muffled sound coming from the next room hit my ears like a slap. I cracked the door open and couldn't believe my eyes. There were girls inside, a little younger than me. As I stepped back in fear, I suddenly bumped into someone behind me. It was Grant. The moment he saw me, he slapped me across the face. He told me that this slap was the consequence of breaking the rules. I went straight back to my room, and the door was locked behind me. That night, Elaine came to me and said that there were other children here, just like me, and that I should be an example to them. She said that the next morning she would explain the plan they had for me and for them. Then she added a warning. If I tried to break the rules or go to the police, they had friends everywhere and would find me easily. I was so suppressed, so cornered, that the thought of something terrible happening if I disobeyed pushed me into accepting everything. The next morning, when Elaine placed the bags on the table, I did not fully understand what was about to happen. Inside the transparent bags were small, plain cookies. There were no labels on them, no church name, just a small note inside saying they were meant to be shared as gifts. They told us to say that we were selling them to help a church. They took us out early in the morning. Grant drove the car, and Elaine watched silently from the back seat. We were dropped off at crowded parts of the city. Metro exits, in front of shopping centers, streets where people were rushing to work. I started looking at people's faces. When they heard the word donation, they stopped. When I said church, their expressions softened. Some pulled out loose change, others opened their wallets and gave more. Everyone who thought they were helping had the same look on their face, relief, but I knew the truth. Not a single dollar went to any kind of help. When we returned home in the evening, the money was poured onto the table, one bill at a time. Grant counted silently. Elaine wrote the numbers in a notebook. If someone brought less than expected, they did not shout. Shouting was unnecessary. silence was much more frightening. Sometimes, as I looked at the money, I remembered people's faces. Those who said God bless you, those who smiled. I wanted to apologize to them, but the words stayed stuck in my throat. One day, while selling cookies downtown, a middle-aged man stopped in front of me. He separated himself from the crowd and looked directly at me. He was not in a hurry. He looked at the cookies, then back at my face. It felt like he was not examining the cookies, but me. He bought all of them. He introduced himself. His name was Mark. When he handed me the money, his hand did not shake. His eyes did not dart away. He did not look at me with pity. There was something else in his gaze. "Are these really for a church?" he asked. I lied. But he realized that the lie was not truly mine. I understood that very quickly. He paid more than necessary. He did not bargain at all. It was as if the value of the cookies meant nothing to him. After that day, I started running into Mark often. He would come up to me, smile, buy all the cookies I had, and even give extra money. This went on for a while. I secretly set aside the extra money Mark gave me, saving it with the thought of building a life with Ivy one day. One day, Mark came to me looking pale. When I told him he did not look well, he said he was sick, but that he had left the house just to buy these cookies. I told him I was sorry to hear that. He bought all the cookies, walked a few steps away, then stopped and came back. "Tessa, can I ask you for something?" he said. How did he know my name? I did not remember ever telling him, but I did not dwell on that detail. I said yes, of course. "It's getting hard for me to come here," he said. "If I give you my address, could you bring them to me? You wouldn't have to struggle selling them." It sounded like a very good offer. Without thinking for even a moment, I accepted and took his address. The next day, I went to the address he had given me. I knocked on the door, and he opened it with a smiling face. He welcomed me, told me to wait for a moment while he got my money. And when he turned his back, I saw a dark shadow moving inside the house. That sight terrified me. He came back, paid me generously again, and thanked me. I left in a hurry and sat in a park for a while to calm down. He knew my name, and what I had seen inside the house deeply unsettled me. The following day, when I looked at the calendar, I realized it was my birthday. I ate breakfast with a heavy feeling in my chest, took the packages assigned to me, and headed out. Even though I did not want to go to Mark's house, the freedom it gave me during the day and the fact that no one interfered with me at home felt like a huge advantage. I decided to go there again. I knocked on the door, but before Mark appeared, the door opened by itself. A moment later, Mark rushed over and asked why I looked so down today. I told him it was my birthday and that I had never celebrated it before. He looked sad and said that in that case, he would ask me for one more favor and pay me double in return, so I could buy myself a birthday gift from him. I agreed and listened carefully. He described a shop some distance away and said there were packages there belonging to him. If I gave my name, they would hand them over, and he asked me to bring them to him. Hesitantly, I accepted and set off. When I reached the shop and said Mark's name, they handed me several tightly tied bags from the back. When I arrived at Mark's house again, I knocked on the door. He opened it with excitement in his eyes and asked me to bring the bags inside. As I stepped in, I saw balloons and a cake prepared for me. In that moment, all my anxiety and fear disappeared. I was genuinely happy. I blew out the candles, cut the cake, and we started eating together. He asked me to tell him my life story. I told him everything that had happened. He was deeply saddened by it. Then I asked him what he did in life. He said he had certain abilities and helped people who were in need. I was shocked and excited. I asked if he could help me too. He said he could not help me directly, but he could teach me. He told me he was very sick and needed to pass this work on to someone else. I did not understand and asked what kind of work he meant. He looked at me and said that he worked with magic. He said he could resolve people's unsolvable troubles by helping them. He explained that the notes inside the cookies I sold were written on paper that dissolved easily in water and burned easily, which was why he had wanted to buy them from me. When he realized how pure my heart was, he thought he should teach me these things. Shocked and excited, I asked if that meant I could do anything I wanted. He said yes, but warned me not to use it for evil. He told me he had different spirits that assisted him in this work, and if they sensed bad intentions, the consequences would be bad for me as well. As Mark spoke, I became terrified. I said I needed to go home and stood up immediately. He paid me, then told me to come back the next day and said I had a chosen spirit. I left the house quickly. I was late getting home. Grant opened the door, furious. That day, he beat me very badly. That night, filled with anger and hatred, I thought about using what Mark was going to teach me the next day. I ran straight to Mark. When he saw me in that state, he was deeply upset. I told him everything and almost begged him to punish them for what they had done to me. He refused. Instead, he said that if I wanted to be free, learning would be enough, and if I used it for good, everything would turn out well for me. Pretending to suppress the hatred and anger inside me, I agreed to learn. I came every day at the same time and left at the same time. He taught me many things. One day, when I went to Mark's house, he did not open the door. I noticed a note and a key under it. In the note, he said he had gone to the hospital and told me to go inside and continue the work. I went in. The hatred and anger were still inside me, and I decided to try. I drew the symbols and writings he had shown me onto the cookie papers I had brought. I lit the candles, opened the book, and began the ritual. After finishing the words, I burned the paper and threw it into a bowl of water in front of me. Suddenly, everything went pitch black. 3 tall, large, black beings stood before me. They asked if I was sure about what I wanted them to do and warned me that there would be a punishment for it. Without hesitation, I accepted and completed the ritual. At that moment, Mark came in through the door. He shouted at me angrily, asking what I had done, saying I had promised him and asking how I would live with this curse now. I said nothing, ran out the door, and left. That day, no one came to pick me up. As I walked home, I saw a crowd in front of the house. When I went inside, the police were trying to understand what had happened. Grant and Elaine had been crushed in a way that looked like their heads were about to explode, and the others in the house had died with their bodies covered in bruises. Horror and regret overwhelmed me as I asked myself what I had done. I went straight to Mark and told him everything. I told him how scared and sorry I was. He told me not to worry, but to swear that I would never do it again. I did as he said. Then he told me there would be a price for this. He said he was taking back the ability that had been given to me and that I should never come back there again. He gave me a large amount of money and told me to leave. Some time after that, I went back to Ivy. I secretly took her out of the orphanage, and we built a life together, even though everything seems fine now. On some nights that horrifying scene still comes back in my dreams, and I cannot bring myself to tell Ivy about it. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If this video affected you, don't forget to support the channel by liking it. For more dark and realistic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next story.